bad things happen to good people every day of the world. Mm-hmm. So we always try to find a way to help these good people get back on track, but it's expensive because the rates are going to be much higher than prime. If you have credit card debt, try to lower your credit card debt to acceptable levels so they don't consider you maxed out. Maxed out is you have a $10,000 limit, you got $9,500 on the credit card. The more debt you have, the tougher it is to get the loan.
Whoa, make that switch.
Welcome back. It's the City Kia Show, filmed live right here at City Kia. I'm Raul.
And I'm Trenny.
And let's see what Trenny has, what questions she has, what topics she wants to discuss with us today. Let's find out.
Well, I'd like to dive in a little bit more on something that's come up in the last couple of segments that we've had, whether it was a first-time buyer or whether it was what happens to your interest rate and your credit and everything. And interest rates are a hot topic right now.
Oh, they are.
So let's just start back in kindergarten.
Go ahead.
What is interest?
Interest is the money you pay for borrowing the money. That's
Exactly.
as simple as you can say it.
That's it. So,
And it's called an interest charge on your finance contract.
and who sets that interest on your
The
contract?
lending institution, but they're all based, it all starts with the Federal Reserve, and as they keep raising rates, banks have to raise their rates as well, and we, the consumers, end up paying the higher rate. For example, a few years ago, pre-pandemic, rates were as low as 2.9% with a person with a 750, even an 800 Beacon score. Today, it could be 6.9%.
So the market has changed. Things have changed.
Well,
factors have changed.
And real estate as well, homes and real estate. If you go buy, if you bought your house in 19 or 20, you may have paid 3%, 3.25 on your mortgage.
Right.
Today, mortgages are 7 with great credit, 7%, 7.25%.
Right.
So it's affected everything in business. Everything in business relies on finance because everybody's financing something, no matter what it is. Some people it's a refrigerator, some it's a car, some it's a home.
Right. So what are some of the actual factors that affect the interest rate?
Okay. So your credit history, your credit report in the automobile business, they're going to take in your credit bureau. Sometimes we'll look at multiple bureaus. We'll look at Equifax, TransUnion. They'll look at both bureaus, sometimes a third. So they'll look at your credit history. They're going to look at your time on job, time at your residence. If you've changed employment, did you stay I'll give you an example. Your daughter's a nurse, right?
That's right.
Okay, so if you're a nurse working for St. Mary's Hospital and you were there 5 years and since then you left and now you work for Advent Health as a nurse,
Right.
You've only been there a year, but you're in the same related field, they take that into consideration. So you may only have a year on the job, but you've been a nurse for years and years, so they take that. That's just an example.
That's just an example.
How you've paid your previous car payments, if you own a home and you have a mortgage or multiple homes, how you pay your mortgages on time. Credit card balance is very important. How many credit cards do you have? Are they maxed out? Do they have high credit with low balances, which is a good thing? For example, if you have a credit card, a Visa, MasterCard, American Express with a $10,000 limit, and you only have $1,000 on your card, you have 90% availability.
Right.
So they're looking for rolling availability. They don't want, the more maxed out your credit cards, that hinders you a little bit from getting a prime approval. And a prime approval is always, we battle to get you the best rate with our lenders.
Well, okay, so that's a great thing. City Kia, battles to help get the buyer a good...
The best bank that
rate.
fits their needs.
Right, so that's what's within your control. And what would you advise, or what tips do you have for people with less than stellar credit to be able to help them get a better interest rate? What can they do?
Well, try to lower. Okay, if you have credit card debt, try to lower your credit card debt to acceptable levels so they don't consider you maxed out. Maxed out is you have a $10,000 limit, you got $9,500 on the credit card. That's maxed out. Or 10. You're 100% maxed out. The more debt you have, the tougher it is to get the loan or a prime rate. So what you want to do is reduce the risk for the lender to give you the benefit of a lower interest rate.
Well, that's
one of the things you can do.
Tell us about the prime rate. When you say prime rate, what does that mean versus subprime rate?
Okay, so prime rate,
Subprime
that's
credit
right,
versus
Trady. That's a great question. So prime is prime. You know, they said the Fed set a hike, and then you have a prime rate that all banks and lending institutions and businesses use.
Mm-hmm.
It's a floor, and that floor moves depending on the Federal Reserve. They raise the rates, lower the rates. Like right now, we keep raising it to fight inflation, thinking that the higher rates are going to stop inflation, which is usually the silver bullet for the feds to control inflation. It hasn't worked that well, but I believe the economy is still robust, and it's cyclical, and it is with this years with lower rates or years with high. It'll always be that way. Mm-hmm. So there's a difference between prime credit, A1 credit, and secondary credit. For example, in our previous show, we talked about repos.
Right.
So once you have a repo, you're in subprime world. If you've paid your car late all the time, you're in subprime world. If you haven't paid your credit cards, you're in some subprime world. What that means is there's a few lenders. There's quite a few. We partner with a few, about 4 or 5 that specialize in reestablishing your credit, because bad things happen to good people every day of the world. Mm-hmm. So we always try to find a way to help these good people get back on track, but it's expensive because the rates are going to be much higher than prime. I'll give you an example. A person with prime credit on a pre-owned CPO car, any pre-owned car, may pay, let's say, 7-8% on the loan. Mm-hmm. A person with secondary credit on that same car may pay 17, 18, 19% on that loan, depending on the year of the car. Mm-hmm. So, but that's why I always advise, when you're reestablishing yourself, and you have to face an ominous interest rate, a very high interest rate, then you can't control that. What you can control is the car you select. Make sure it's a budget vehicle. It fits in a budget, because you have to add a big chunk of payment for that interest every month. But if you lost your car, if you're reestablishing and you've had bad credit and you're trying to turn your life around, get the most inexpensive car that suits your needs, not the most expensive, because once you establish your credit and you pay on time for a year and a half, maybe 2, you can probably trade in the car. We'll get you another car with a prime bank, and if you paid them on time and you've paid all your other bills on time, you may qualify to trade in the car and lower that rate with a prime lender.
So that makes perfect sense. So if I'm hearing you right, you would suggest that you get the least expensive car that you could possibly get to meet your needs, and you just have that, build your credit, and then you go back in and you get.
Let me give you an example. Let's say you're looking for a 23 Sorento. Mm-hmm. You may be much better off buying an 18 certified pre-owned Sorento that's got a balance of a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. That's $10,000 or $12,000 less than the 23 model, because you're paying. That's $10,000 less of interest that you're going to be paying on that balance. So if the car is $30,000, you're paying interest on a $30,000 car at a high rate, but the car is only $20,000, you're paying the same interest percentage, but your amount is less.
So that's another great reason for buying CPO. And obviously, we did another podcast a few segments back, so that's a good one to listen to learn more about.
Same thing with a new car. You may want a new Sportage, but you may have to buy a Rio to fit into your budget, your monthly budget, with a high interest rate.
Right.
So remember, you have to be flexible. The most important advice that I can give you guys that are facing those things, and we've all faced different things and obstacles in life. One of the best advices that I could give you is be practical. You need a practical vehicle to get home, to work, to school, whatever it is that you need to do.
Right.
It's not about luxury at this point. It's about reestablishing. And you do that responsibly by making sure that you buy a payment you can afford, not getting into something that to put you back in the same position that you were before. You don't want to repeat the same history.
Don't let history repeat itself.
It's your life, your story. Mm-hmm. You're the author of your own book. So make better choices the second time around.
Yeah, that's really good advice. That's good advice across the board. Don't let history repeat itself. Okay, well, the last question I have about this then is, you were talking about City Kia is able to walk people through the best choice for them.
Every day.
Let's say somebody comes in and they get an offer on a car, and they go home that night, they sleep on it. Is the offer good the next day?
Depends on how you negotiated the deal.
Okay.
Sometimes, depending on the day or the trade-in and the way the day's going, if the manager said, listen, I'm going to give you this deal, but I need to count it today.
Right.
And and they mean business, and they say you got till 8 p.m. tonight. The next day, they're not bound to do that deal.
Right.
Now we usually at City Kia, would be an exception, but it happens. Right. It happens, especially if a vehicle's in demand.
Right.
And you have a lot of people on the internet competing for that car.
Right.
Well, you can't tie the car. Deposits hold a price on a car. It doesn't hold the actual car.
Got it.
So if you have a good deal, you might as well take advantage of it, because every day things change. The business changes. If we're selling a 25 car day, we may be a little more gracious on a deal than a day where you sell 7 cars that you need to sell that 7th car.
And if you just got a truckload of Fortes coming in.
Right. It's different if you have 7 on the ground and you only have 1.
Right.
So a lot of factors have to do. It's a great question. We're asked that my manager trained to accept or release us from our figures. And then if sometimes we will make a deal with somebody and give them till the next day. It all depends on the customer, the car, and the situation. There's no real rule with them. Just like every deal is customized to a person, that's also depending on the deal itself.
That makes perfect sense. Well, that's all the questions that I have. Unless you had anything else to add, we can get on.
So what's next, Trenny? Game time? All right, let's play the game.
Game time.
We're not really good at this charade game. You at home are probably better than we are. So let's see what happens today.
If anybody's been watching.
We cheat. We almost get it right. We count it. We say, well, that's a win. Sounds like a win, right? So you'll see.
And we cheat a little bit more when our producer isn't here.
Yeah, they're upstairs in a meeting. So we got a camera guy who's a good guy, Omar.
We're flying solo, so let the cheating begin.
Right,
okay, I'll go first.
When you have a loan, you have a what?
Oh, when you have a loan?
Okay, listen to me.
Line of credit? No.
Stop. On a ledger, one side is credit. What's the other side?
Debit. Right.
So sounds like the same word. So when you have, what word is it when you have an obligation? You have a what? You hear people say, I have a lot of personal
debt.
Bingo.
All right.
Ready? Cameras are rolling. Is this upside down?
It's upside down.
All right, cameras. I don't know what it is, but let's go.
Okay.
How many words?
2.
All right.
And if you go into default, you get referred to the
repo department.
Well, yeah, that was our last segment, so it's an honest thing, but it would be the one that tries to
collections.
Yes.
Collection department.
Yeah. Collections company. It's the collections department. Yes.
It's collection department. Mr. Producer, it's collection department. So I was right.
Okay.
All right, great. So when you go out car shopping, guys, we talked about this a little while ago, you have a certain what for the car. What is that monetary word that you use?
Line of credit?
No. You want to make sure it stays within your when you buy something, you want it. Bingo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Budget for the car.
Budget for the car. Your turn.
All right.
Wait, the clock doesn't start yet. Trip it upside down.
All right.
Okay, if you're not buying you're
leasing. Leasing a car.
Yes. Good one.
God, we're getting better at this, guys.
Getting a little better. We set the bar low.
If you buy a vehicle, you should always make sure you buy a vehicle that has a good what to protect you.
Warranty.
Bingo.
Wow, aren't we getting so much better now that the producer?
My turn?
Yes. Turn it around. This is one thing in that Spiff's packet.
What?
It's
what is that?
It's one thing that you have to have in order to, when you're getting financed. Remember that packet in the last podcast you told me about?
Your steps.
Yeah, the steps. It's one thing that goes in the steps.
Proof of roof. Keep
going.
Proof of identity. Proof of roof. Proof of income.
Yes.
Bingo.
Bing bing.
Go. I really believe in this, Trenny. So if you're not going to buy new, you should buy a what?
Certified pre-owned.
Man, we are getting good at this. Upside down?
Turn it up down.
All right, camera, take a look. Here we go.
It's something that you do for your
I do?
buyer. Well,
or everybody does.
Yeah, or you do it so that by the time they come in, the blank is blank because you give them so many lessons. So that who's the person that comes into the dealership? They're called
a VIP appointment.
No. Just the plain old language. The person that walks in here is a yes and
Customer?
another yes. That's it. Period.
Okay.
And they are what? Because you've already given them so much information. So
VIP
the customer is
educated consumer.
Yeah. Customer educated.
Yeah.
But again, this goes back to the Spanish. Yes, that's right. That's correct.
We need a new translator, guys.
It would be.
I won, right?
Yes, he won. It would be educated customer.
Big dollar signs.
But sometimes we do things differently.
So, Trenny, time to say goodbye. This brings us to another end of our short show today.
Short.
If you're looking for a vehicle, new or pre-owned, certified, hopefully, there's one place that'll never let you down. That's City Kia. We're here for you 7 days a week. See you soon, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Whoa, make that switch. Make that switch to City Kia. To City Kia.